So let's imagine that I'm your typical access request manager, and I get up in the morning and I'm interested in seeing what is really going on in my environment with regards to access requests. So the first thing I'm going to do is simply jump into my Microsoft Teams and go to my AI conversational interface here and kick off one of the AI agents. So in this case, I'm going to ask my bot for help. Okay, so it brings up things that it can do for me. Now I'm interested in working with this access request, essentially the supervisor, the supervisor agent. There are multiple agents here that I have deployed. So I have one agent for the business request and another for the managing Jira issues, but I'm gonna kick off this agent here. All right, so the first thing it does is that it tells me about its capabilities. So what it can do for me, essentially, it can retrieve access requests and perform crowd operations against those access requests. And it also has the ability to interact with Jira related tasks. But what I'm actually going to do is that because I'm in this meeting, I'm going to delegate my task to one of my colleagues here in my team. So folks, what you're seeing here is that here with my team, we have an AI agent that is actually an identity workflow that is part of our team. It's a member of our team. So I invoke the agent, and then I ask one of my colleagues that I'm going to be away since I'm finishing up a meeting to check on the most recent access requests for Patrick for me, right? That was the message. So my colleague responded, but instead of going to some portal or some application to actually check on that the top most recent access request for this individual, he didn't do that. Right here in place in context, he asked the agent, hey, can you give me the two most recent access requests for this individual? And the bot responded back with that information. And he receiving the information, he sends me a message that now he has some concerns with the second access request. So he wants me to review that. So being aware of his concern here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the agent to now create a Jira issue for the second request, as my colleague indicated. Folks, you have not seen this anywhere. This is new. This is people, AI agents, working together in real time. So if I go to my Jira dashboard, if you look in here, I have no Jira issue created here. But we're going to wait for this guy to respond. And now if we look at the response, it's saying that it has created the issue for me. Awesome. So if I go back into Jira and I refresh the view, now I have an issue here generated. Oh, so here in Teams, we have one of my colleagues, Hamad, who has been following our conversation, and he says he thinks we need to add some comments to the Jira, to the issue in related to the security team's meeting tomorrow. So I'm going to respond back to Hamad. And I'm going to ask him to add the comment. Now here, instead of Hamad, once again, logging into some external application or going into some web portal, navigating some complicated application, he's right in here in context, being part of the conversation, having real-time information, asking our agent to add the comment. And here you have the agent behind the scene being able to act on behalf of each user, not using some service account or some service identity, but using the individual requester's identity to really go back into the backend system to do that work. Now, something important is taking place here. if you look at the conversation, it's obviously a natural conversation we're having here. And when my colleague Joel expressed concern with the second access request, I did not give any specific details about that request. In terms of the agent going to create the JIRA issue, I simply said it should use the details from the second request. And he knew exactly what I was referring to. Once again, when my colleague Hamad asked that it go create a comment on the issue, it did not specify any details about that issue. He simply stated, hey, add this comment to the JIRA issue. And it figured out what issue we're talking about, the issue that it created, right? It has that contextual awareness to know that this is what our team is dealing with. Now, let me jump back into the environment, the Workflow Studio environment, where I actually built these 3 agents. So this is the supervisor agent. And when I set it up, I simply give it access to 2 sub-agents. So each workflow is actually an AI agent in itself, and it has a unique ID and a description. So I give the supervisor agent these 2 sub-agents that it can work with. So what is happening really is that the supervisor, when he receives a request from me or any of my colleagues, is planning using the capabilities that these 2 sub-agents have, is planning, making decisions, and interacting with these sub-agents, reflecting on the outcome, and of course, using even the feedback to improve itself. If we look at the business request agent, one of the sub-agents, we see here that the agent has access to a bunch of tools. Now, what we do with the EmpowerNow solution is that we ship a bunch of tools out of the box. So if you wanted to retrieve, let's say, audit information from your IGA system, or you wanted to interact with some custom database, or you want to make a call into some external system via our CRAD service, you have the tools to do that. So here I have a whole bunch of tools that I have added here, including, of course, the one that actually pulls the access request data. So here you can see that I'm pulling a bunch of data from the backend system and surfacing that to the chatbot. This is the JIRA agent. Again, it's a single agent. It's independent. It can work alone. And here it has access to a bunch of tools. So these agents have tools, and the supervisor has access to these agents. So the supervisor is able to coordinate the conversation between these agents. If we go to the JIRA, we can see one of the tools here. If we look at this tool, we can see that we're taking the user's access token. This is the user here in Teams. We take that user's access token and we pass it down. So is the user's identity that is actually being used to interact with the external system. And of course, the central CRAD service is responsible for managing authorizations and all of that. So we don't have to code any of that within our agent workflow here. This is really the future of identity workflow. People are not going to be logging into applications. They will be right here, real time, collaborating with the agentic workflows and solving problems in real time this way. Much, much more efficient.